Hey everybody, Chris here. So here's the Geib square. It's all finished, and it's a very pretty instrument. It's got some fancy legs and a nice decal. There's the decal. Get a little closer. And so let's see some of the work I did on this thing. These things here, these screens, were, at first you couldn't even tell that they were brass. They were so tarnished they actually looked like wood. So I put some black cloth behind there and polished up the brass, and they came out quite beautiful. And with this piano I was kind of going for, like with the decal, black and gold. So I went with black and gold for all the decorations, to be artistically coordinating. And same thing I did on the plate here, black and gold. It may have originally been blue or green, but I think the black and gold looks more elegant. I added some flowers for nice decorations. There were some flowers there before, which inspired me to duplicate that. And except for this time, I added some color to them. And then I restrung this thing. The looping was quite challenging on here. I had to make each one a different length and keep a control on that to make it look nice and even. There's just so many there that it looks like glistening silver when you step back. See that? Look at that. It just kind of glistens, adds to the prettiness of it. And so I restrung this thing. All the strings are English wire from England. I got them from was it Malcolm Rose, the company in there. I had his stringing book, and this string scale was in there. It was identical to a Broadwood of the same type of design. And redid all the dampers. And since in this case maybe a lot of aficionados would be snobbing at the fact that I used modern pins, but in this case it was justified, because the old ones, and this piano is 200 years old, and it's gone through several rebuilds, it looked like to me, over the years. So the holes were just all over the place in sizes. There was like 4 different size pins. So I decided to ream them all out, and the next size up was a 1/0, and I thought that was a fair compromise. And the original pins, by the way, were, of course they were most likely handmade, but they were blued, so I went with the blued. So I think they look good, and it's got nice torque on there. It'll hold a tuning very well. And then what I went through on this, just to keep it in the museum's interest of originality, I used most of the original hammers, and except that I added some more leather onto them, and I chose white leather. I thought it'd look better. So there's the hammers. Had to make some, and had to fix some shanks. And then this piano was really tough, is all the hammers that are, and the whole action is underneath the soundboard. So you have to work on it blind. This was really, really a toughie, just on that alone. But I got through it, came up with a plan. And then finally, I shouldn't say finally, but I had to use since this instrument, the idea here was to make this instrument playable and to make it where it's reliable for performing. I went ahead and upgraded the action. Originally this was leather there, and I just don't think the leather would hold up. And proof of that is that all these hammers were on top of the keys when I got this piano. So all the leather had disintegrated. So I ended up using a very thin sheet of Mylar. And that was really a good idea in the end because it allowed me to make adjustments fore and aft to make sure that the hammers are hitting the strings where they need to hit. So that little adjustment was perfect. So I would imagine in the company, originally they had that perfectly butted up and then added the hammer on top of the shank later, and to get those to line up to the strings. So that was their adjustability, I'm sure. Then after a while, they probably had a template where they could do it on the bench. So I had to fix a lot of jacks in there. And it turned out that in the end that the best material for the spring, or not the spring, but they had leather in there too, by the way. And I replaced that leather hinge with brass, and 5.005 brass, very thin brass, and that gives it the support and the flexibility it needed to do the same job and last a long time. So anyways, that's the square. Here's another thing I did is I already finished this part in here. So the serial number wasn't even seen before, but the serial number is kind of meaningless now because there's no records of that serial number giving a date of manufacturer. So that's just the way it is. And then here I went ahead and added the hertz that this should be tuned at, 425. That was recommended for this string scale in the Malcolm Rose book. So I made that on there so that it would always be available for the tuner to see if he forgets. So there we go. Geib's all finished, and I'll be taking it back to the museum in Florida